welcome to the Monday Motivation Spotlight, another episode bringing you an inspiring Israeli individual making a difference in Israel. Today we have a real treat for you with our special guest being Ariella Zeitlin, who is an extremely talented international violinist and storyteller. She's totally passionate about creating musical experiences, not just an event, but an actual experience where she blends spirituality with her incredible violin personality and music. She composes it, and she's just phenomenal. You'll see later. Don't take my word for it. Her work has touched Jewish communities around the world. She's got millions of views on her social media and her different events. And she treats us later with a little bit of music and tells us about her story moving from the US to Israel and how she got involved in music from a young age. So sit back, enjoy the experience of the amazingly talented Ariella Zeitlin. Ariella, welcome to our Monday Motivation Spotlight podcast. I'm so happy to have you as our guest today. As we were talking before, we've never actually met in person, believe it or not, even though we've known each other from social media, from the different groups we're in. We hang out with some of the same people, business owners in the Israeli spectrum and in the Israeli world. So I feel like I know you already. I've listened to your music and I think you're fabulous. And I'm so happy we're getting the chance to actually chat now and to share with our viewers what you do. So welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here with you, Lesley.
So you made Aliyah from Baltimore in 2005. And now you're well known in the Israeli circuit, you're well known abroad as well. Before we go into exactly what you do, and we've already shared with our viewers your bio, and you're a musician and you're so talented, let's take our viewers back to Ariella before she decided to make Aliyah, living in the US, growing up as a child. Share with us a little bit about who you were, your Judaism. Did you know about Israel? Had you visited Israel? And of course, your passion for music. At what stage did that start?
Okay, let's start from the very kind of beginning of the story of Ariella and moving to Israel is that my great-grandparents were Zionists in Russia. And they were imprisoned for their Zionist activities and for organizing and trying to figure out how to get to Israel. And they were sent to prison, where everybody who got sent to prison for Zionist activities ended up being sent to Siberia. But they miraculously ended up with an Armenian judge. We're talking about the beginning of the 1920s, so somebody who had been through the Armenian genocide. And he said, if they want to go to Israel, we're getting rid of them either way, so why don't we just send them to Israel? So that was my great-grandparents. And my grandfather grew up in Nesher, and he was a child prodigy violinist. So by the time he was 7, he was touring around Israel, doing concerts for the British all over the place. And he had an incredible photographic memory. So also anything that he heard, he could repeat back word for word. So from the age of 7, 8, my grandfather was a spy. and by the time he was 11, he had outgrown all of the music that was in Israel at that time. And he moved to New York with his mother, where he was the youngest person to be accepted to Juilliard. So that's my grandfather. And
wow, but that's your grandfather, which is incredible. But now I understand where your passion for music and your talent comes from, having a grandfather who was famous for that.
Yeah, incredible. I feel like if you want to hear the whole story, I have to start from there. So my grandfather was a touring violinist. He toured all over the world. He was very intellectual, which meant that the music that he primarily played and performed and premiered was avant-garde modern classical music, which, if you don't have awareness of what that is, it is like modern art, where you look and you don't necessarily understand what is going on, but my grandfather was very intellectual. And so my parents became religious. My father became religious and my mother is a convert. And they moved into a ultra-Orthodox community in Baltimore, Maryland, which is where I was born and I was brought up. And you asked me about Israel, and the truth is that I had no real awareness of Israel as a place. As a girl growing up in an ultra-Orthodox community, I didn't really know that Israel existed. Maybe theoretically I did. I knew that there were Israeli people. We knew some Israelis, but I didn't know Hatikva. It wasn't a particularly Zionist community. It wasn't a
So
community.
you were Jewish, and I've seen that with a lot of communities. You were Jewish and your Judaism, but not, as you said, not Zionistic
Right.
necessarily, and Israel was not something that you spoke about or anything.
Not on my radar, really. So when I was about 7, I really was asking my parents for a long time to start playing the violin. And because of my grandfather, and my grandfather at this point is the head of the music department, the string department at the Eastman School of Music, which is one of the top music schools in the world. And they didn't really want me to go into that world. They didn't really want me there because it's very intense and it can be very abusive. But I really wanted it, and right away I took to it like a fish to water. And I'm not a child prodigy at all. I have the other side of the brain, which is that I'm excellent at improvising and I'm very creative and I'm great at writing music, but memorizing and doing things exactly by the books has never been my kind of strong suit. I grew up in this very religious house with my grandfather, with a very close relationship with my grandfather. And then by the time that I was in high school, I was very sure that I was going to be going to Juilliard. I would be moving to New York, and that I would be moving out of my parents' house. And all I wanted was to go to Juilliard. It was the big dream. And then first of all, in high school, I started getting more of an awareness about the existence of Israel. Not to offend anybody, but the hypocrisy to stand in a synagogue 3 times a day praying to go to Israel when it's an actual place that you can just go. So there was a lot of, at that age, when you're starting to question things and you're starting to understand that not everything that you've been taught is necessarily truth. So it was becoming part of my awareness. And then my school, as I was going into 12th grade, shut down. So I came to Israel for a year. I went to seminary. And by the time I was done with that year, I realized it was the summer. It was the year of the Hitnatkut, of the expulsion of Jews from Gush
Katif.
And I had a boyfriend who was from Gush Katif at that time. And I spent a Shabbat at their house. And his mother drove me around and showed me the greenhouses. She showed me the greenhouses. She showed me the beaches. She showed me what they had built there. And she said to me something that changed everything for me. She said, we couldn't hold on to it. We didn't have enough facts on the ground. There weren't enough Jews that were willing to move here that we could hang on to this land.
I've actually got goosebumps as you're saying that, because I remember that time very well. That was a very challenging, sad time for Am Yisrael.
Yeah. So that was the summer, that was the year that I was here in Israel for the year. And by the end of the year, I realized that just choosing to be a Jew living in Israel, that my life would have more meaning for the rest of my life until I died. Just existing, it would have more meaning than if I went back to the United States and went to Juilliard.
Incredible. And especially seeing it was your passion to actually go to Juilliard. So that's a huge step and a huge decision to take.
Yeah.
So firstly, how did your family handle that? How did your grandfather handle that?
Handle my deciding to move to Israel. So I have to say that my parents were incredibly supportive. My parents really did everything that they could to help me with it. My mother went to deal with all the paperwork, which if I had done that on my own, I probably never would have made Aliyah. And they were really incredibly supportive. That's the truth, is that when I expressed that desire, it woke something up inside of them that they had maybe discussed earlier in their marriage or had put it to the side. Or I think my mother always wanted to move to Israel, or she says that she always wanted to move to Israel, but I never heard that growing up because it seemed like a dream that she put to the side.
It wasn't spoken about. And today, do you have family living in Israel besides your decision to move there?
Today, I've done a lot of work for the Jewish Agency, and everybody who I put my eyes on and decide is going to move to Israel moves to Israel.
Wow,
right,
that's fantastic.
So, yeah, my parents moved here, my brother moved here, my sister moved here, my cousins. I have a lot of people that have made Aliyah.
That have made Aliyah thanks to you. So you never thought, you know what, let's go to Juilliard and then I'll come back and make Aliyah. That was never one on the deciding factor, or one of the choices that you thought of?
Right. So I really fell in love with Israel in the time that I was here. It felt like home. It felt like I was doing the right thing for myself, for my soul, for who I'm supposed to be. It felt like the right choice in a way that maybe Juilliard, as much as it was my dream, it was also shaped by this performative world that I lived in where I wanted to please the adults in my life. And I think that I always wanted to go to Juilliard. There's a part of me that I'm maybe sad that I didn't get that opportunity, but at the same time, I also look at it and I recognize that there was a big mix in my desire to be a performer and to be a violinist and to perform on stages. There was a big mix between my desire to do that and what my parents might have wanted for me or what my grandparents wanted for me and how that all looked together. And the Israel thing really felt like my own decision 100%.
Fabulous. It's interesting how doors open up in our lives and how we move along in different paths or different routes. Think about it. If your school hadn't have closed and then you had completed 12th grade there, your life could have looked very different. Not to say it would have been better,
Absolutely.
but here is your life is better.
Yeah, absolutely. I look at that moment, at that happening as a very clear pushing the universe or God, whatever you want to call it, the kind of universe pushing me in the direction that I was supposed
to go in. Fantastic. So let's now talk about your former years in Israel, moving to Israel, your life in Israel, what did it look like, and how you continued with your music and passion for music in those years. And did you already know that this was going to be a profession of yours, or was it a hobby and you were working in another profession?
So it's been very clear to me that I would go into music as a profession. I think always. It was always clear to me, also because it is so valued in my family. It was something that when I was going, when I decided to move to Israel, I came to seminary. When I came for that year and I was in seminary for that year, I was taking violin lessons all the time thinking I'm going to go back home and I'm going to at the beginning it was I'm going to audition to Juilliard and that's where I'm going to go. And then the next year, when I decided to make Aliyah, I went into Mechina, but always with this thought that I'm going to go into music school. That was always my thought. And I have a bachelor's and I also have a master's from the Rubin Academy in Jerusalem in violin performance. A very classical, very intense violin.
I can imagine. And I love your backdrop, your wall. Yeah. I will share with our viewers where Ariella was playing around with which backdrop to use and which virtual background. I said, let's see your real background. And I said, of course, we have to show our viewers, this is you.
Yeah, this is my studio. This is my office. I'm now facing this way, but if you see any of my videos where I'm playing with the flag, it's on the other side of the camera right now.
That's incredible. So let's carry on about your years in Israel, how you evolved into it, and how you developed not only your love for music, turning it into a profession, but let's talk a little bit about you. You said you write music as well, correct? You play, you sing, you write music.
Yeah, I do. I'm trying.
Should I say compose? That's the more professional world, right? To compose.
No, I'm trying to think. Where does it all start? And I think that I started making money already when I was in high school, when I started playing at weddings. And then once I moved to Israel, I was already making money almost entirely from music, from teaching violin and from even playing on the street. I did a lot of that. And that's how it all started, is that, okay, I have this talent. I know that this talent can make me money, it can bring joy to people and it can make me money. How great.
Right, a win-win. What more could you want? Right. You love doing it. People love hearing you and you can make money from it.
Right. And when I was in the incubator of being in this music school and in this very intense environment where perfectionism is what is the most valued thing, when I finished school, I didn't really have the tools to make money. I didn't really know how to do that. Besides for, like I said, I was teaching and I was doing that in certain matnasim and I was starting to do certain productions as a musician. But I think that the entrepreneurial skills of saying, okay, I have this skill and how do I let people know about it and how do I get the word out about what it is that I do and what it is that I offer, I think that those are all skills that I had to learn on my own. How to create content and how to share what you do in a way that brings people into your world.
And don't forget too, content has, we all know, content and how we create content has changed totally over the years as
Yeah.
well, with the advent of the internet initially and what it is now, and with AI. And just for a second, you spoke about the entrepreneurial skills and everything. I see that so much with my business clients as a business strategy coach, is that you're right. You start a business because you loved doing something or you're good at something. But correct, who teaches you all these skills about how to run a business, what to do? And that's something which is so important that you just mentioned. And we see that it is lacking a lot. And that's where the support system comes in a lot of groups too.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that the business side of what I've done it's past a huge evolution. When I was mostly teaching and I was playing in a lot of productions as a musician, as part of an orchestra, and then moving into, I guess it's a more integrated version of what I want to bring into the world. Because you always have something that's like a raw talent, right? Somebody who is, for example, a graphic designer, right? They're a graphic designer. There are a million graphic designers. They're a dime a dozen. But the minute that somebody says, I'm a graphic designer who is also specializing in this, or I understand the copy of this particular business, or I create social media content specifically for doctors, or whoever that kind of is, also fascinating. Because as I stepped into doing more solo work, first it started with weddings, and I built that brand around doing weddings and events. And then I started doing shows. And that's been over the past couple of years. That's been a huge part of what I've done and I've stepped into, because my huge passion, besides for music, is the mental aspect of what helps us to achieve our dreams, what helps us to achieve the things that we want to achieve in the world. I think that I'm not the only person that it loves the whole world of coaching and mindset, and how do we get that out there, and how do we really actualize the potential of who we're supposed to be in this world. I think that a lot of us, we keep ourselves small because we don't know how to do it. And that's been, as I've made different shows, that's always been the kind of the driving force behind it. Is I don't want somebody to come and just have it be music. I want them to come and to walk out believing in themselves more. And
I love that. We think so much on the same lines with that. So that's incredible. So, in other words, when people come to your shows, they're not just being entertained, they have an entire experience. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
They walk out the door. In some ways, it may sound cliche, but a different person to perhaps how they walked in the door.
That's the real goal. And I think that I have some really beautiful stories about people who have been very affected by things that I've done. For the first big show that I did, that was really what I call a commercial show, which I've now done in several schools all over the world, and it's called 1,000 Faces of a Hero. And it's a show that's all movie music. And the concept is, how do you become the hero of your own story? Which essentially, the villain, who's the villain in your story, is it's your fear. And how do you get past the fear? And what are the tools that you can use? And I use a lot of music from different movies, specifically a lot of Disney stuff, because Disney does that archetype so well. And somebody told me that after they came to that show, that her daughter was so affected by the show that she decided to go to university. And it was something that she didn't believe that she could. And a lot of people told me that it made them think, and it brought up like new conversations. And where am I using the word can't? Where am I saying that I can't do something? And just incredibly powerful things. And after I did that show, then I started leaning a little bit more into Jewish pride specifically, and doing shows that are geared towards making us proud of who we are as Jews, because I think that there's a lot of fear around what does it mean to be a Jew. And I think that the more that I create events that are focused around the concept of Jewish pride, then the more, that's people are looking for. That's what our people are looking for right now. How do we connect to who we are and what we're supposed to be? And as an Israeli living in Israel, that this stuff that you say we're very aligned, it doesn't surprise me, because everybody that I speak to is very aligned. Like,
exactly, there's just, you're right, something in the air about living in Israel that makes you think a certain way.
Yeah.
and which is very difficult to explain to someone who doesn't live in Israel.
I think that, yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
And
that's fabulous. So are most of your performances with your own composed music, or do you use a combination of existing well-known songs, whether it's Jewish songs, secular songs, your own thing?
so it depends a lot on what the program is. So, for example, that show, The Thousand Faces of a Hero show, is a show that I wrote specifically to bring into schools, into middle schools. I wanted something that was also, because as somebody who identifies as an Orthodox Jew, I wanted something that was not like in that box of this is the Jewish thing, which is funny because after I did that, I said, why not lean in to what I actually am, which is the Israeli violinist? Why not just lean into what I actually am as opposed to saying, oh, I have to create something that other people will want? And it depends a lot on what the event is. So, for example, if somebody's hiring me for their wedding, they're deciding what I'm performing, right? And if they're hiring me for a tekes or that kind of thing.
Right, a ceremony.
I do have a lot of original music, and I have more coming out now. I'm actually working, hopefully in May, I have a new album coming out, which is very exciting.
Fabulous.
It's
Wow.
it's basically almost done, so it's very exciting. And it really depends on what the event is and where I'm going. I don't do any shows that I don't incorporate any of my original songs, but I always think about who the audience is and whether it will be a good match for the audience. I do a lot of working. I think that as a business owner, we can all relate to that. Like, how do I bring them what they need, as opposed to thinking about what I might want to do or what do I want to play?
Totally. Look, it's like a speaker that you have to know
Right.
your audience in
Yeah.
order to know how and what to perform and what to say. So the same thing goes for music, is that for a certain crowd, you may perform a certain range of items and songs, and for another crowd, something different.
Right.
Mhm.
And I think that as a professional, that's the most important thing, is to know how to go into different spaces and knowing how to cater to that different space. In the past month, I've been hired for American Seminary, which is one kind of niche, and they have their kind of very American specific songs. I was in Florida, and I did in Florida 3 different events there also for different age groups, and everyone was different. And I was thinking about how that's how I know I'm professional. I know that somebody calls me, and I definitely have times that people call me and I say that's not an event that makes sense for me, but knowing how to bring joy in different spaces. So, for
Wow,
example,
that is
I would
fabulous.
do, for example, if I go for an older audience, then I'm doing a lot more Yiddish or Fiddler on the Roof or older Jewish songs, whereas I can't do that for a bunch of 18-year-old seminary girls. They'll throw eggs at me.
But that's also a sign of talent, is that you're able to adapt your music and your skills according to the audience as much as you can. Not
Yeah.
everyone's able to do that.
And yeah.
So, how is it for your family, your kids, having a mother that's so talented? And have any of your kids, are they musical? Would you say music describes your family, that there's a lot of music heard in your family?
So I think that both of my children are incredibly talented vocally, and my daughter just started playing piano, but neither of them have any interest in playing the violin, and neither of them want to take lessons. Like my daughter has taught herself, and she's really good, but she's taught herself entirely from TikTok videos.
Wow.
And I sit here in awe because she didn't want a teacher. She didn't want to do the training. She said, I just want to do it on my own time when it's fun for me. I don't want the once a week kind of thing. I don't want to feel like school. And I've respected that for both of my kids. Neither of them wanted to do that. My son is very into soccer. And he's got this amazing mind where he can listen to a symphony and he can pull out the different parts, which he could come back and sing to you what the cello was playing and then what the violin was playing and then what the trumpet was playing. Like, he's got this, he can hold a lot of different music in his head at the same time.
But talent obviously does run in the family, starting from your grandfather.
For sure. And my husband is amazing. He's a chazan. He does we're flying for Pesach. We're both flying together for Pesach, where he's doing the prayers in a Pesach hotel and I'm doing musical programming separate from like when they're doing the prayer sessions.
So, if we're actually to ask you, Ariella, describe yourself 3 to 5 words about who Ariella is. The essence of Ariella, what would you say? And I didn't ask you to plan that in advance, so forgive me that
Yeah,
I'm asking you this on the spot.
Jewish. I think that's a big one. Spiritual. I guess musical. I'm like, okay.
Yes,
And I think I'm a connector. I think that's an important kind of part of it. So I think that
it
those
is. And you
five
find that through your music, you're able to connect with others, but also connect people together.
yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. Moving forward, and folks, we do have a treat for you when we're going to end in a couple of minutes, and Ariel is going to play a piece for you that we're looking forward to. So, moving forward, Ariella's dreams for the future, your vision. Share with us a bit, but besides performing, creating shows, helping empower people.
One of the things that over the past few years, like I said, so much of my work has been how can I use my talents to empower people? So I've started, besides for the music, which I want to continue doing, and I love doing it, I love what I'm doing, is I've started doing more healing work. I've started doing, in fact, for example, today I'm leading live music with breathwork session, which is, I'm very drawn to the idea of doing healing retreats with music, and not only with music, but also with journaling and breathing and yoga. And I think that's going to be a big part of who I'm going to be in the next 10 years. And this album that I have that's coming out is all part of this mission that I have of trying to help people speak better to themselves. It's songs that are empowering and come back to messages and themes about self-love and believing in ourselves and believing in our mission. But then I also have created all kinds of other things that go they're complementary things. For example, I have a whole series of meditations. I've got like 65. It's like it's a serious body of work. And then jewelry that has the affirmations that come along with different things from the album. And I created this amazing journal, which is a daily reset of what do I want to think? How do I want to think today? How am I setting myself up for success in the day that I'm walking into? So that's part of the whole vision.
That's amazing. So it's definitely not just music, even though the not is in inverted commas because your music is huge. But the fact that you've taken it to all these different angles and can help so many people in so many ways, and also to actually achieve a couple of your different passions and goals at the same time.
Yeah, I'm really, first of all, I'm very grateful that I've been able to do that I also have a really good partner. The truth is that I have a really wonderful husband who has been incredibly proud and supportive of all of my various schemes and ideas, but also that I'm able to do work with people where it feels healing. I think that there's no more gift, there's no greater gift that you can give somebody than they walked into something and it healed something inside of them.
That is so true. Tell me, have you ever thought of, before we end, have you ever thought of being part of any orchestra? Maybe you were at some stage, or even for these shows. Have you ever thought about, and you're talented enough for sure.
I've done some work for orchestras and for
Mhm.
this kind of thing on TV. It doesn't really interest me. I think that you have to pay attention to what interests you in life. You can,
100%.
and for a long time, when I was in school and I was learning to be a musician and I was doing that kind of work a lot, I started out doing a lot of that work, but there was something in my soul that it couldn't do it. It didn't feel like the right thing. My body would hurt. I think that's a really big sign for not just me, but a lot of people. If your body is hurting from what you're doing, it's probably not a good thing for you to be doing that. I always felt like I'm meant to be an entrepreneur and I'm meant to figure things out on my own. I like working with my own clients. I don't like being told what to do.
Which is fine. A lot of people don't like that. So being an entrepreneur, that's one good way of overcoming that.
I don't think that, as I'm saying it, obviously we spoke before about understanding your audience and giving your audience what they need and what they want. So I'm not saying that I don't listen to what people need or what they want, but that being in an orchestra setting, there's very little creativity. You're coming in and they're telling you what to do and you have to do it. It's like the office job of music.
Wow.
And if I was desperate and I needed to take every single job, that I would go back to doing that kind of thing. But
Thank God you're in a position that
right.
you choose what you want to do, how you want to do it, the type of shows that you want to put across and offer to your target markets, which is
And the
amazing.
world that I want to be
And
involved
you
in.
love what you're doing. So you're doing the elements that you want to do.
Yeah. And just
Right.
the
That's
world
amazing.
just the world that I want to be involved in, which is I want to be involved in healing, and I want to be involved in growth, and I want to be involved in, and if it doesn't exist, then you have to create it. And
Exactly. I love that. If it doesn't exist, you got to create it. I so agree with that. Absolutely. That is so true. And you're creating it in your music and able to fulfill those different passions at once. We've been talking a lot, and I'm sure our viewers are so curious to hear your music. So please do share with us any song or anything that you'd like to do. And then when you're done, I'd like you to share with our audience how they can reach you, how they can follow you.
no problem. Lesley, what is your favorite song?
I have a lot of favorite songs, and I will say right now, especially with everything that this beautiful country of ours has undergone, this Am Yisrael Chai, and I know there are different versions, is one of my favorites. But of course, I like different types of music. So honestly, feel free to play for us whatever feels right now.
All right, let's do Am Yisrael Chai.
Bravo, bravo. I just wanted to stand up and clap and dance with you,
Oh,
but I
thank
didn't want the
you.
screen to be distracted from you. Wow, I
That's
love
okay,
that.
though.
I love that. And I've no doubt our viewers will love this treat as well. Ariella Zeitlin, you are so talented.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much for being our guest today. How can people reach you? How can they follow you?
All right, I'm Ariella Zeitlin. I am on Facebook, on Instagram, on LinkedIn. Um, and if I
YouTube, you have a big YouTube following as well.
got YouTube, you can send me a message on my website, ariellazeitlin.com. That's who I am.
Wow, incredible. So we honestly wish you just much continued success with this huge talent that you have been blessed with on the music side, but also on the spiritual side, wanting to make a difference to so many people in this world. Thank you, Ariella, for being our guest on the Monday Motivation Spotlight.
Thank
I'm
you.
Lesley Kaplan. If you found this inspiring, please do like, please do follow, and you'll see lots of other inspiring people that I've had over the last 2.5 years. Not all of them are as talented as this amazing Ariella, but each one comes with their own strength
In their
and
own
does
way.
amazing stuff. Right. Each one with their niche, right? What they do well. Amazing. So thank you, Ariella. Thank you to our sponsors, to Egan and Cohen Insurance and to Lali's Flower Boutique in Jerusalem. Wishing you continued Hatzlacha. I look forward to attending one of your concerts or events, whatever it is. When you are next doing one, so I'd love to hear about it. I was not able to make the last one, so that was really inspiring. Thank you, ladies and gents. Thank you for following us. Thank you for being here. Am Yisrael Chai in the true sense, as exactly how Ariella and what she played for us today. Wishing us safety and our beautiful country should grow from strength to strength, as well as Ariella. Thank you so much. Have a great, safe day. Bye bye.